Welcome to Taiwan Report News Brief, news, analysis, and context from Taichung, Taiwan. I'm Donovan Smith. All right, up today on the program, a memorial has been held for Hau Pei-tsun, the anti-foreigner hardline KMT former premier. Then it's chaos in the NPP and the view from the TSP. The now-ratified U.S. Democratic Party platform is more pro-Taiwan than before. And finally, Trump again speaks on Taiwan. But up first, some headlines. Tainan Mayor Huang Wei-zhe on Monday received the city's first mask violation ticket after removing his face covering during an indoor ceremony to take pictures. Earlier this month, Huang announced a compulsory mask-wearing policy will be enacted once again in all indoor spaces as a response to the country's increased number of imported coronavirus cases. Well, that's embarrassing to get the very first ticket. Vice President William Lai Ching-te on Monday issued certificates of exoneration to family members of two individuals who were unjustly convicted during Taiwan's martial law period, officially wiping out their criminal records. Lai presented these certificates to the sons of Du Xiaosheng, an indigenous Zhou tribesman, and Liao Lichuan, who were wrongfully sentenced in 1954 to 17 and 10 years in prison, respectively, for their involvement in a treason case involving indigenous leaders who were fighting for autonomy for indigenous people in the Alishan area at the time. Newly elected Kaohsiung Mayor Chen Chi-mai of the ruling DPP officially took office at a swearing-in and changeover ceremony Monday. Chen won a mayoral by-election on August 15th. The Ministry of Transportation and Communications said it will assess whether to dismantle and rebuild the 40-year-old Terminal 1 at Taiwan Taoyuan International Airport when it completes the construction of a third terminal. Terminal 1, which opened in 1979, was renovated and expanded in 2010, after which its annual passenger volume increased from 12 million to 15 million. When I first arrived in Taiwan, there was only the one very gray, Stalinist-looking terminal at what was then called Chiang Kai-shek International Airport. They did a good job of making it look better in the 1990s. Executive Yuan officials on Saturday urged the Legislative Yuan to prioritize the government's budget proposals for a special relief package, the third phase of the forward-looking infrastructure development program, and the 2021 fiscal year in its upcoming legislative session. The Executive Yuan on August 13th approved their proposal for the government budget for next year, with 2.16 trillion NT in expenditure and 2.45 trillion in revenue, as well as approving 230 billion for the forward-looking program for next year in 2022. Meanwhile, the abolishment of the control yuan and examination yuan would likely be discussed in the upcoming session, while first cross-caucus discussion on required constitutional amendments are soon to be held. The number of Hong Kongers applying for residency in Taiwan reached 892 last month, a monthly high for this year, National Immigration Agency statistics showed. The number increased 70% from 525 in the same period last year, after Beijing imposed a national security legislation on Hong Kong on June 30th. On Sunday, Taiwan President Tsai Ing-wen posted on her Twitter feed an image of Paraguayan President Mario Marito Abdo Benitez sporting a Taiwan Special Forces Apache helicopter pilot jacket and appearing to deliberately turn his right shoulder to reveal the Taiwan flag patch. In the caption, Tsai thanked Abdo for promoting Taiwan-Paraguay friendship and complimenting him on the jacket. The jacket was gifted from Tsai to Abdo in 2018. Senior members of the KMT on Sunday attended a memorial service in Taipei for late former Premier Hau Pei-tsun, who died on March 30th at the age of 100. Hau, who was the nation's top general, was appointed premier by President Lee Teng-hui early in his presidency to keep hardliners on his side. I remember clearly hearing reporting on ICRT about him giving a speech attacking foreigners as being here to destroy Taiwan's Chinese culture, among other charges. The speech was the launch of a major crackdown on English teachers who, at the time, were almost all illegal because the process of becoming legal was nearly impossible. A lot of friends of mine got kicked out of the country, but I was pretty safe. My employer was politically connected. A lot of Chinese of his generation hated foreigners, a legacy of the foreign concessions in China. The generation of KMTers after his was considerably more friendly to foreigners, in part due to the support provided by the U.S. The new power party appears to be in chaos. This ran in the Taiwan News. Miaoli County Councilor Zheng Wenxue announced Sunday he was leaving the new power party after its former chairman, Huang Guochang, was heard questioning Zheng's ability in a leaked audio recording after NPP leader Xu Yongming gave up his party membership over the Sogo bribery case earlier this month. The party said it would hold a primary election to determine the new members of the decision-making committee. However, audio in which Huang suggested Zheng stood no chance of winning the primary without his support was published Sunday by a Facebook user who described the election as rigged and accused Huang of exercising dictatorial authority within the party. In the leaked audio, Huang was heard bashing Zheng for being full of himself and having delusions about his abilities. He also said Zheng could not possibly win the party primary by himself. On Sunday evening, Zheng took to Facebook to announce his decision to quit the party and become an independent. He said he was aware of Huang's influence among NPP members and that he could no longer stand the former chairman's resistance to opposing voices. Zheng said he had given the NPP his heart and soul and that he was disappointed in the party for abandoning its original ideals. He also expressed hope that it would one day overcome its struggles and become a beacon of hope for young Taiwanese voters. Upon hearing of Zheng's departure later that evening, Huang said he was surprised by the news. He said he had not meant to cause internal conflict within the party and emphasized that the audio had been edited to fit the political agenda of certain parties. Now, from Chinese language media, I got some more details, including that acting chair Qiu Xianzhi basically begged him to stay, but failed. Zheng was quoted in another report as saying, "No one dares defy Huang Guochang." Starting last year in August, the party has been hemorrhaging elected politicians and key people, with all of them becoming independents. The party is falling apart. But for me, one big question came to mind. Why didn't any of them join the Taiwan State Building Party? They are supported by a similar demographic and share many ideals. It would be a big boost to the TSP to pick up more elected lawmakers. Plus, the NPP defections have been concentrated in the north, where their power base is. The TSP power base is in the south, so this would give them exposure further north, where they're weak. Now, I had some guesses, but now I have some answers. I had the good fortune to meet up over beers with noted Asia expert, academic, and all-round nice guy Bill Sharp when he passed through Taichung. This topic came up in conversation, and it turned out the very next morning he was going to Kaohsiung to meet the TSP chairman, Chen Yiqi. So he got a chance to pose this question directly to him. Chen told him that he hadn't personally reached out to any of the NPP defectors, though some in his party had. He said that he thought the problem with the NPP was it was full of individualists, presumably meaning competing egos. He said the TSP was concentrating on building a party team spirit. Now, this makes some sense. In Taipei, the activists and campaigners that parties like the Greens, Social Democratic Party, and the NPP draw from are a pretty incestuous bunch. They go to the same events, the same rallies, attend the same seminars, hang out at the same cafes, and so share an entrenched culture. Being based in Kaohsiung gives them more of a chance to build a new culture and new approaches. They can avoid the infighting and politics of the Taipei scene. That's also a reason why it's good that I'm in Taichung. The Democratic Party platform adopted at last week's nominating convention dropped any reference to the U.S. policy of recognizing a single China in reference to Taiwan. The new platform, issued for presidential nominee Joseph R. Biden on Thursday, states that Democrats are committed to the 1979 Taiwan Relations Act, which calls upon the U.S. to defend Taiwan from mainland attack. The platform then states that Democrats will continue to support a peaceful resolution of cross-strait issues consistent with the wishes and best interests of the people of Taiwan. By contrast, the 2016 platform explicitly supported the One China policy hammered out in the 1970s, when the U.S. dropped formal diplomatic recognition of Taiwan and shifted recognition to Beijing. The 2016 document said that Democrats were committed to a One China policy. Now, this shift is both a very big deal and not at all. Symbolically, it is significant that it both dropped the reference to One China and states Taiwan's status is with the wishes and best interests of the people of Taiwan, with the wishes of the Chinese people removed from the equation. However, presidents don't usually pay the slightest bit of attention to the party platform once in office. In a totally surprising move, China's foreign ministry criticized the platform change. Just kidding, no surprise there. The Democratic platform also takes a tougher tone on China than in the past, but also calls for more moderate policies than President Trump has pursued. The platform also states that a Democratic administration would support activists in Hong Kong with sanctions. It also condemned China's placement of more than 1 million ethnic Uyghurs and other minorities in concentration camps. Democrats will pursue this strategy without resorting to self-defeating unilateral tariff wars or falling into the trap of a new Cold War, the platform says. Those mistakes would only serve to exaggerate China's weight, over-militarize our policy, and hurt American workers. U.S. President Donald Trump has spoken out again on Taiwan. This is how it was reported in the Taiwan News. Fox News' Steve Hilton, host of The Next Revolution, brought up the topic of the U.S.'s relationship with Taiwan, wanting to get Trump's reaction on the issue. Hilton said that in the past, there have been different attitudes towards Taiwan from the U.S. government, and it seems to be getting more important because of technology and economic aspects that a company in Taiwan is the world leader in semiconductors. Trump chimed in saying it's coming to this country. Now, presumably, he's referring to TSMC. Hilton then asked, if China, and it looks like it's getting more belligerent, tries to either invade Taiwan or effectively take control of it and its important industries, would you let them get away with it? I think it's an inappropriate place to talk about it, but China knows what I'm going to do. China knows, Trump replied. I think this is an inappropriate way to talk about it. You know, I don't want to say I'm going to do this or I'm not going to do this. This is just an inappropriate place to talk about it. It is a very big subject. It is a very powerful subject, but I think China understands what I'm going to be doing, Trump said. So, in short, he stuck with a U.S. stance going back for several administrations of strategic ambiguity, where the U.S. refuses to say one way or the other what it would do. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo said something similar the other day. All right, be sure to go to Patreon right this very moment and become a patron of this show and the other shows on Taiwan Report. And be sure to visit us at report.tw, hit like, subscribe, hit the bell if you're on YouTube, and all that good stuff.
This has been brought to you by the Taiwan Report. For more content like this, become our patron at report.tw.
欢我的台湾狗了。